Charisma is often mistaken for nothing more than charm, a smile, a warm tone, a pleasant demeanor meant to put others at ease. But Machiavelli would tell you that true charisma is far from softness. It is controlled energy, a crafted presence, a deliberate manipulation of perception. A charismatic person does not simply walk into a room, they shape the room around their presence. Their words carry a weight that others cannot ignore, not because they are loud, but because they speak with intention. Yet charisma alone is not enough. If you study the great strategists of history, you will see that the most effective leaders combined warmth with an underlying sense of danger. Not violence, but unpredictability. An aura that says, I can be kind, but do not mistake that kindness for weakness. This is what Machiavelli called being both the fox and the lion. The fox charms, observes, deceives when necessary. The lion warns others that crossing certain boundaries will cost them dearly. When you master both, you become magnetic. People listen, follow, and even fear disappointing you, not because you threaten them, but because your presence silently demands respect. To be charismatic in the Machiavellian sense is to understand people more deeply than they understand themselves. Most people operate from emotion, fear, desire, pride, and rarely stop to question the invisible hands pulling their strings. The charismatic strategist sees these emotions clearly, almost like colors on a palette, and knows how to blend them to paint the outcome they desire. This doesn't mean manipulating people in the sinister sense, rather, it means reading the room with such precision that you can see tensions before they arise, insecurities before they are spoken, motives behind even the softest words. People feel understood around you, and that alone is magnetic. But the danger lies in how much you see. When you understand people too easily, you also see their weaknesses. You see where their confidence breaks, where their loyalty bends, and where their envy begins. That knowledge is power. The type of power Machiavelli warned must be guarded carefully, because when people sense that you see through them, they admire you and fear you at the same time. And that combination is what makes you the most dangerous person in any room, not because you intend harm, but because you cannot be fooled. Many people crave likability, even at the cost of their own dignity. They smile too much, apologize too quickly, soften their voice, shrink their presence, hoping to be accepted. Machiavelli would call this self-sabotage. Niceness without boundaries invites exploitation. True charisma does not require you to be gentle. It requires you to be authentic and grounded. People trust those who stand firmly in who they are. They admire those who are not trying to be liked, but trying to be true. The dangerous person in the room is the one who has nothing to prove, nothing to beg for, nothing to hide behind. They carry themselves like someone who has already chosen their own value and is not seeking external permission to exist. This kind of presence unsettles the insecure, intimidates the deceptive, and inspires the honest. When you are rooted in your identity, you do not bend every time the wind of opinion blows. You speak clearly, you look people in the eye, and you express yourself without fear. That is what makes charisma powerful. It is not the sweetness of your personality, but the solidity of your character. People assume danger means aggression, but Machiavelli teaches the opposite. The most dangerous individuals are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who speak with calm certainty. They understand the strategic value of silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is space where others reveal themselves. When you speak less, people fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. They begin to project strength or mystery onto you. They wonder what you think, what you know, what you've observed. They worry whether they've said too much. This is why powerful individuals choose their words carefully. A single well-timed sentence can shift the tone of a conversation. A single pause can make others rethink their approach. Silence creates presence, it amplifies your charisma and deepens your perceived danger. People cannot attack what they cannot predict. Your restraint, your composure, your ability to remain calm while others rush to expose themselves. This is your hidden blade. Machiavelli knew that the quietest person in the room is often the one with the clearest mind, and therefore the most capable of shifting outcomes without drawing attention. Charisma is also built from emotional self-mastery. Most people walk into a room carrying visible tension, the stress of their day, the insecurity of their thoughts, the heaviness of unspoken fears. Their energy leaks everywhere. The Machiavellian strategist enters with a controlled internal state. They move slowly, deliberately. Their breathing is steady. Their expression is neutral but engaged. Before speaking, they observe the emotional currents in the room. This makes them appear deep, reflective, composed, qualities that naturally attract respect. When you control your emotional energy, you become unpredictable in the best way. No one knows what you're thinking, but they can sense you are thinking. No one knows your next move, but they feel it will be intentional. This contrast, your inner stability against the world's chaos, makes you magnetic and intimidating. People are drawn to those who remain centered when others lose themselves. Emotional mastery is not suppression. It is sovereignty over yourself. It is the ability to choose your response rather than be driven by reaction. And those who can master themselves can master almost any room they walk into. Machiavelli teaches that appearances matter, not in the shallow, vanity-driven sense, but in the strategic sense. People believe what they see before they believe what they hear. Your posture, your facial expressions, your gestures, your pace of movement communicate more than words ever can. A charismatic yet dangerous presence requires you to cultivate subtle authority in your body language. Stand upright, not rigid but grounded. Keep your shoulders open, not defensive. Move with a sense of direction, not haste. When you enter a room with controlled motion, people unconsciously adjust to you. They give you space, they take notice. Even the way you sit, relaxed yet alert, signals that you are comfortable in your own power. This is the beginning of psychological dominance. When your external presence conveys strength, others treat you as strong. When your demeanor commands respect, people become careful with how they speak to you. This is not about ego, it's about signaling self-respect. Machiavelli understood that perception shapes reality. If you appear powerful, you become powerful, because others respond to you as if you are. One of the most misunderstood lessons from Machiavelli is the value of controlled unpredictability. Predictability makes you safe, but it also makes you manipulable. When people know exactly how you will react, they can plan around you, exploit you, or undermine you. The most charismatic and dangerous individuals break this pattern. They remain generally consistent in their values, but unpredictable in their strategies. They may be warm one moment and sharply assertive the next, not erratic but responsive to behavior. This makes people tread lightly. They never quite know where your boundaries begin or end, so they respect all of them. Your unpredictability becomes a silent warning. I am not someone you can easily categorize. This protects you. It deters manipulation. It strengthens your presence. It also makes your charisma richer, because people become fascinated by you. They watch you closely. They try to understand you. And the more they try to decode you, the more power you hold in the interaction. Controlled unpredictability is not chaos. It is strategic flexibility. Machiavelli believed that human beings, for all their moral ideals, are driven primarily by self-interest. Understanding this frees you from disappointment. It allows you to navigate social environments with clarity rather than emotion. The charismatic yet dangerous individual never expects loyalty without incentive. They know that people follow strength, consistency, and perceived benefit, so they cultivate an aura of value. When you make yourself valuable, intellectually, emotionally, socially, people naturally gravitate toward you. But here's the dangerous part. When you become valuable, people also become wary of losing your presence. This shifts the power dynamic. You no longer chase acceptance. Others seek your approval. You no longer beg for opportunities. Opportunities move toward you. And because you understand human nature, you are never surprised when admiration turns into envy or loyalty fades under pressure. You move strategically, not sentimentally. You give trust slowly. You watch for patterns, not promises. This is how you remain charismatic without being naive, respected without being deceived, and powerful without having to display aggression. A charismatic person knows how to speak, but the most dangerous person knows how to listen. Listening is one of the most underestimated forms of power because people reveal their entire psychological landscape when you let them talk. Their ambitions, insecurities, resentments, values all spill out in the spaces between their words. Machiavelli wrote that leaders must observe the intentions behind actions, not the words themselves. When you listen more than you speak, you gather information others didn't intend to reveal. You learn where people's boundaries are weak, where their motivations lie, and where their emotional pressure points are. You learn whom you can trust and whom you must be cautious with. Meanwhile, your silence makes people believe you are wise, thoughtful, perhaps even mysterious. This enhances your charisma. It also deepens your danger. Because information is power, and you accumulate it without ever exposing your own vulnerabilities. By mastering the art of listening, you gain a strategic advantage few people ever recognize: the ability to understand people while remaining unreadable. Presence is one of the greatest weapons a person can wield. A strong presence is not built from noise but from awareness, the ability to occupy a space with confidence and calm. Machiavelli teaches that presence must be cultivated intentionally. This means knowing how to position yourself physically, emotionally, and intellectually. When you walk into a room, pause, observe, and take in the environment before engaging. When you speak, do so with measured pace. When someone challenges you, keep your composure before responding. These small habits build a magnetic presence over time. They make you appear thoughtful, intelligent, and in control. And here's the Machiavellian twist: a strong presence changes how others behave around you. It makes aggressive people softer. It makes insecure people defensive. It makes deceptive people cautious. Without lifting a finger, your presence becomes a boundary. It silently communicates, I know myself. I know my worth, and I will not be moved easily. In a world full of emotional chaos, the person with the strongest presence naturally commands attention and respect. Charisma also requires you to master the art of framing, the ability to define the meaning of a situation before anyone else does. Whoever frames the narrative controls the psychology of the room. When something goes wrong, people look to the calmest, most stable person for meaning. When someone speaks with confidence, others accept their interpretation as truth. Machiavelli understood that power often lies not in action, but in perception. If you can define the tone, the purpose, the direction of a conversation, you become its quiet leader. This is where charisma becomes strategy. You are not simply expressing your thoughts, you are shaping how others think. And this is where the danger emerges. Because once you know how to frame situations, you can redirect conflict, neutralize hostility, and elevate yourself without aggression. People feel influenced by you without realizing it. They believe your ideas are their own. They mirror your emotional state, and in doing so, they give you their psychological permission to lead. This is charisma at its highest level. Not loud, not flashy, but deeply controlling. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But the truly powerful individual learns how to blend them. Not fear in the sense of intimidation, but fear in the sense of respect. The kind of respect that says, I value you, but I will not tolerate disrespect. This balanced polarity is the essence of charisma mixed with danger. People feel comfortable around you because you are kind, but they also remain careful because you are not easily manipulated. Your boundaries are clear, your standards are high, your responses are measured but firm. You do not overreact, but you do not ignore disrespect. You are approachable but not accessible to everyone. You give people warmth but not your entire soul. And because you maintain this balance, you become both admired and unshakable. People sense that your kindness is a choice, not a default. Your respect is earned, not given freely. Your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. This is how you become charismatic, yet unmistakably the most dangerous person in the room. To blend charisma with danger, you must understand the psychology of scarcity. Human beings value what is not easily accessible. They chase what feels rare, protect what feels irreplaceable, and respect what they cannot fully grasp. Machiavelli knew this well. A leader who is too available loses authority, yet one who is too distant loses connection. The balance is subtle but powerful. You remain present enough to influence, yet scarce enough to be valued. When you're not always around, your presence becomes an event. People prepare themselves mentally when they know you're coming. They rehearse their words, adjust their posture, even manage their emotions differently. Scarcity multiplies your charisma because people attach meaning to every interaction with you. And this is where danger quietly emerges. The less you give access to your time, your mind, or your emotions, the more people realize they cannot control or predict you. They sense that your world does not revolve around their expectations. You appear independent, not detached, but sovereign. Your life moves with or without their approval. And that autonomy, that unwillingness to be possessed or defined by anyone, is what makes you powerful in a room full of people seeking validation. True charisma is not about making people like you. It is about making people feel something when they are around you. Emotion creates memory, and memory creates influence. but the emotional impact you leave must be crafted intentionally. You do not inflate your personality to impress. Instead, you sharpen your authenticity. You speak with a tone that carries conviction. You maintain posture that communicates discipline. You express opinions not with arrogance, but with clarity. People feel your presence, not because it is loud, but because it is grounded. Machiavelli understood that charisma must be anchored in competence. You cannot simply look powerful. You must actually be capable. You must know what you are talking about. You must be able to deliver results. This competence is what gives weight to your words. When people sense you are both skilled and principled, they become more receptive to your influence. And the danger? It appears in the realization that you are not easily manipulated by compliments, crowd approval, or emotional pressure. You have your own internal compass. You cannot be swayed by flattery, threatened by jealousy, or controlled by guilt. This makes your charisma clean and your resolve unbreakable. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who is emotionally self-sufficient. People often attach themselves to others out of emptiness, a need for validation, comfort, belonging. But the Machiavellian strategist understands that emotional independence is the foundation of power. When you do not depend on anyone for your sense of worth, you cannot be controlled through fear of abandonment or loss. Your decisions are based on logic and principle, not desperation. This level of independence enhances your charisma, because people instinctively trust those who stand on their own feet. They sense stability, maturity, and self-awareness. And here lies the danger. When you are emotionally complete, people cannot leverage your insecurities. They cannot lure you with superficial temptations. They cannot destabilize you with emotional games. You become a psychological fortress, open enough to connect deeply, but unshakable when others attempt to manipulate you. Most individuals avoid conflict because they fear losing relationships, but the independent person fears losing themselves more. This makes you capable of walking away from situations that others would crumble trying to hold on to, and nothing is more threatening or more magnetic than someone who cannot be owned. Machiavelli teaches that influence comes from controlling the narrative others tell themselves about you. But to do this effectively, you must master the art of emotional ambiguity. Emotional ambiguity does not mean being cold. It means never revealing the full extent of your inner world. You show interest, but not obsession. You express care, but not dependence. You share insights, but not your deepest vulnerabilities. Because the moment people believe they fully understand you, they begin to feel entitled to you. They assume they can predict your reactions, shape your decisions, or anticipate your moves. Emotional ambiguity keeps the psychological advantage in your hands. It makes people curious, attentive, even slightly off balance, never fully certain of your internal motivations, but always aware of your power. Charisma grows when people feel drawn to you, yet unable to fully decode you. Danger grows when they realize that your emotional state is not something they control. In a world where most people wear their insecurities on their sleeves, your ability to withhold emotional transparency becomes a quiet, undeniable strength. Charisma also demands that you speak with purpose. Machiavelli believed that a leader's words should be few but impactful, clear enough to be understood, sharp enough to be remembered. Talking excessively dilutes your presence, but speaking too little makes you invisible. The strategic balance lies in using language as a blade, not as a blanket. Each sentence should be crafted to either inspire, clarify, or redirect. You do not ramble. You do not overshare. You do not soften your truths to avoid discomfort. The dangerous person in the room speaks with a calm confidence that leaves no confusion. When you say yes, people know you mean yes. When you say no, people know negotiations are over. This clarity intimidates the manipulative and comforts the honorable. It creates a psychological boundary around you, one that prevents others from testing your patience or misreading your intentions. Charisma comes from how your words resonate. Danger comes from how your boundaries are enforced through those words. The combination makes your voice not merely heard, but respected. To be charismatic in the Machiavellian sense, you must understand timing. Timing is the invisible rhythm of influence. People who rush appear insecure. People who hesitate too long appear weak. But those who speak, act, or intervene at precisely the right moment appear wise. Timing allows you to let others exhaust themselves before you make your move. It allows you to wait for clarity before delivering a decisive statement. It allows you to observe conflict before choosing whether to engage. This patience creates power. It turns you into someone who is always one step ahead, simply because you refuse to be rushed by the urgency of others. And here lies the danger: your timing makes you unpredictable. People cannot anticipate when you will speak up or withdraw. They cannot rush you into poorly thought out decisions. They cannot provoke you into emotional reactions. Your restraint becomes a weapon. Your deliberation becomes a shield. And your ability to act with precision rather than impulse makes your charisma not only attractive, but undeniably strategic. In every environment, there is a hierarchy, spoken or unspoken. Most people try to climb it through loudness, arrogance, or aggressive displays of dominance. Machiavelli would call this amateurish. True power is subtle. The charismatic yet dangerous individual does not fight for the top. They rise to it naturally because their presence rearranges the social structure around them. They do not need to assert dominance. They embody it. They maintain eye contact without staring. They stand tall without posturing. They speak confidently without demanding attention. The room responds to them instinctively. Even those with louder personalities find themselves adjusting their behavior in your presence. Not because you intimidate them deliberately, but because your grounded energy exposes their insecurity. You do not compete, you elevate. You do not seek followers. People align with you because they feel steadier around you. And the danger? It lies in the quiet hierarchy shift. Without confrontation, without noise, you become the gravitational center of the room. And those who seek control begin to fear the influence you command effortlessly. Machiavelli understood that to be powerful, you must be capable of both peace and destruction, even if you never choose the latter. The most dangerous individuals are not those who seek conflict, but those who are capable of ending it. When people sense that you have the intelligence to outthink them, the confidence to confront them, and the discipline to restrain yourself, they treat you with respect. They do not provoke you unnecessarily. They do not underestimate you. They do not attempt to manipulate you, because your capacity for danger is controlled, not denied. This is where charisma becomes something more than charm. It becomes authority. Your calmness does not come from weakness, but from mastery. Your politeness does not come from fear, but from strength. You do not avoid confrontation because you cannot handle it. You avoid it because you do not waste energy on unnecessary battles. And when you do choose to stand your ground, people feel the shift instantly. The temperature in the room changes. The noise fades. The atmosphere sharpens. Everyone recognizes that beneath your kindness lies an iron spine. Charisma becomes truly powerful when it is paired with moral consistency. Machiavelli is often misunderstood as advocating ruthlessness, but his true teachings emphasize stability. People follow those whose values are predictable even when their methods are flexible. You become dangerous when your moral compass is clear. When people know you will never betray your deepest principles, yet you are fully capable of adjusting your strategy. This blend makes you trustworthy to the wise and threatening to the deceptive. You cannot be tempted into compromising your core beliefs, nor can you be manipulated into abandoning them through guilt or pressure. Your charisma becomes rooted in integrity, the rarest currency in human interactions. And here is the danger. People who rely on deceit, emotional games, or manipulation cannot influence someone anchored in principle. They cannot bend you. They cannot shake you. They cannot lure you into their chaos. In your presence, their tactics collapse. And so they fear you, not because you intend harm, but because you expose them simply by standing firmly in your truth. To maintain this balance of charisma and danger, you must also master your environment. Every room has patterns, alliances, unspoken tensions, hidden rivalries, people who influence others quietly. The Machiavellian strategist reads these dynamics instantly. They look for who speaks the most and who is truly listened to, who appears confident and who is compensating, who carries envy beneath their smile and who hides loyalty beneath humility. You observe these currents not to judge but to navigate. When you understand the social map, you position yourself strategically, never in the center of drama, but never completely detached, never desperate for attention, but never invisible. You become the stabilizing force, the one who understands without declaring it. This gives you an edge that others cannot see, let alone counter. Your charisma grows because people feel you get them. Your danger grows because you see what they try to hide. When you master the landscape of human interaction, you stop playing the game. You start directing it. Machiavelli believed that fortune favors the prepared, and this applies not only to strategy but to presence. The most charismatic individuals carry an aura of readiness. They speak with the sense that they have thought deeply. They act with the sense that they have weighed consequences. They move with the sense that they can handle whatever unfolds. This preparedness gives you a quiet superiority, not arrogance, but confidence built from self-trust. People sense that you are not easily overwhelmed. They sense that you have contingency plans for situations others have barely begun to analyze. This makes your presence reassuring to some and unsettling to others. The danger comes from your ability to adapt. While others panic in uncertainty, you remain composed and strategic. You do not collapse under pressure, you sharpen. You do not fear chaos, you navigate it. You do not lose yourself in noise, you find opportunity in it. This psychological stability elevates your charisma and cements your reputation as someone whose presence alone can reshape the tone of a room. In the end, Machiavelli's greatest lesson is this: be charismatic. But make sure your charisma rests upon unshakable internal power. The world listens to the charming, but it bows to the strong. When you blend warmth with boundaries, intellect with restraint, empathy with sovereignty, you become a paradox. Approachable yet untouchable, kind yet formidable, calm yet undeniably dangerous. People will admire your presence, but they will also sense that pushing you too far would be a mistake. Not because you are cruel, but because you are self-respecting. Not because you seek domination, but because you refuse to be dominated. This balance makes you unforgettable. It makes your influence linger long after you have left the room. And most importantly, it protects you in a world that rewards the charismatic but tests the weak. Be someone who radiates depth, sees through illusions, speaks with intention, moves with confidence, and carries danger not as a weapon, but as a silent promise of self-mastery. Then you will not only be charismatic, you will be the most powerful person in any room you enter. This is the Golden Circle Philosophy channel. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching.